A tax freight train is bearing down on your retirement. To protect yourself, you'll have to harness the power of zero.
Well, hello there, David McKnight. Welcome to the Power of Zero show. Grateful you carved out a little bit of your day to spend it with me. If you want to learn more about me, I am the author of The Power of Zero. Look before you lerp. And as we will discuss today, we are releasing today the worldwide release of the Volatility Shield. And today we're actually going to talk about the Volatility Shield. In past episodes, we've referred to it as the Volatility Buffer. Unfortunately, I've got a colleague in the industry who apparently has some intellectual property rights around the phrase, the actual phrase, the Volatility Buffer. So we've actually changed the title to the Volatility Shield. I actually like it a little bit better, believe it or not. And most people I've talked to do as well. So the Volatility Shield is the name of the book. You can find it on Amazon, and we encourage you to go to Amazon today and to buy it. And certainly if you like it, to put a comment on there, a review. Those are always very, very helpful. So today we're going to do a little bit of a review about what this Volatility Shield concept means. And to do that, we're going to go back to this idea of the 4% rule. And the 4% rule is a rule which basically says that when you retire, there is a finite amount of money you can withdraw from your stock market portfolio in a given year if you want your money to last until life expectancy. Basically, what the industry has done is they've run Monte Carlo simulations. And what a Monte Carlo simulation does is it runs 100,000 different combinations of rates of return over a given time frame, let's call it 35 years, using a given stock bond allocation and using various withdrawal rates. And they found that the most you can really take out of your stock market portfolio is 4%. Why only 4%? Well, what they found is that if you are taking more than 4% out of your stock market portfolio during down years, you're sort of kicking your portfolio while it's down. You're taking distributions while the market, that your stock market portfolio is already taken a loss because of the market. Now you're taking even more out. So when you do this a couple years in a row, or even a couple years in the first 10 years, it can send your stock market portfolio into a spiral from which it never recovers. And so if you want your money to last until life expectancy, and we're talking about with a 90 or 95% likelihood, then 4% is really all you should ever take out of your portfolio. So I'll give you an example. You have $1 million in your stock market portfolio. You retire today. That means that you can take out $40,000 per year and have a pretty strong expectation that your money will last, say, 35 years. So what that means, and here's the dark underbelly of the 4% rule, the lower your withdrawal rate, the more money you have to be able to support your lifestyle needs. So let's say you wanted $100,000 to meet your lifestyle needs in retirement. Well, if you divide If you do the math on that and you figure out how much you need in your stock market portfolio that can, at 4% withdrawals, can produce $100,000 of income, that's $2.5 million in your stock market portfolio. So over time, people have asked themselves, is there a way to, without too much discomfort, beat that whole system? Is there a way to beat the 4% rule? And actually there is, and that's what the Volatility Shield is all about. That's the whole concept behind the Volatility Shield. What studies have shown, and there's been a lot of studies on this, is that if during a down year, and this is especially germane during the first 10 years of your retirement, if during the down years, instead of taking money out of your stock market portfolio, you let it actually recover instead of taking money out while it's down, you instead take your lifestyle expenses out of a completely separate account, one that is growing safely and productively, then it gives your stock market portfolio a chance to recover. And studies have shown instead of only taking out 4%, you can take out 6, 7, 8, 10%. I've seen instances where you could take out 14%. We actually have calculators that show how you do this. So the question becomes, what sort of attributes must a Volatility Shield type account have? First of all, it's got to be safe. And when we say safe, it can't lose money. It can't very well protect you from a down market if it's also down all at the same time. So it's got to be safe. It's got to do no worse than zero in any given year. It's also got to be productive. So attribute number 2 has got to be productive. Why? Because if it's sitting in a savings account, there's going to be a huge opportunity cost associating with letting that money languish in a savings account. Number 3 is it's got to be tax-free. If you have your volatility buffer / shield, if you have your Volatility Shield account that's squirreled away in a tax-deferred account, and then when you go to take the money out and tax rates have gone up to 50%, like some experts are predicting, then you would only have enough money to meet a portion of your lifestyle needs, maybe only 6 months worth. And then the last attribute that you need is it has to absolutely be in place before retirement. What if you retired in the year 2000 and you suffered 3 down years in a row? And in that very first year, you decide, hey, now is a good time to have a volatility buffer. Well, guess what? At that point, it's too late. You got to have this thing in place before you retire. Otherwise, you're taking money out while the stock market's down, and that's just not going to work. Now, based on all of the attributes that we've discussed, really the account, and you can research this all you want, but the account that will best conform to all of the attributes that I've discussed is what I call the life insurance retirement plan. Some people call it cash value life insurance. Some call it permanent life insurance. And there's obviously different types of permanent life insurance / LIRPs. I discussed that in my episode last week. But they all work to one degree or another. They are safe and productive. They grow safely and productively. The only one I probably would not use for this concept is the variable universal life, because you're putting your money in a stock market portfolio, and it's basically correlated to the stock market. But certainly a whole life or universal life or index universal life works very well for this. It's growing safe and it's growing productive. It's growing tax-free. You can take money out if you take it out the right way. It doesn't show up on the IRS's radar. And certainly it would allow you to have it in place before retirement. Now, you got to remember, you got to ask yourself, where is the money coming from to fund my Volatility Shield account? It's not going to distill out of the heavens. No one's going to give it to you. It's got to come from somewhere. So if you're young enough, and when I say young enough, probably younger than 50, the place that it's going to come from is probably the contributions that you're making to your existing retirement accounts. So take, for example, you were putting $20,000 into your 401k. You peel $10,000 off of that. You stuff it into your Volatility Shield account. Well, clearly you're going to have less money in your 401k at retirement. So the question is, by accumulating money in this life insurance policy, in this Volatility Shield, if you will you have enough years worth of lifestyle accumulated by the time you reach retirement to fund a number of years when the stock market is down in those first 10 to 15 years? Studies have shown that if that money is growing safely and productively over those years, that in some cases you can have 4, 5, even 6 years worth of lifestyle accumulated in these types of accounts. And what that does to your withdrawal rates is it allows you to take 7, 8, 9, in some cases 10% withdrawal rates from your stock market portfolio. So even though you're going to have less money in your 401k, instead of being shackled down by the 4% rule, you may be able to take out double that amount. So even though you have slightly less in your 401k because you're not contributing as much, you can now take a much higher withdrawal rate. This is if you currently find yourself in a position where you have a retirement shortfall, by implementing a strategy like this, you can either bridge that retirement shortfall without having to save more, spend less, work longer, die sooner, or take more risk in the stock market. Or if you are on track to meet your retirement goals, it will simply allow you to take more money out of your retirement portfolio than you were otherwise planning for. So again, the book is The Volatility Shield: How to Vanquish the 4% Rule and Maximize Your Retirement Income. I would like to read you the blurb. This is a little bit different than anything I've ever done. Most of my books that talk about the powers of your worldview, Look Before You Lerp, they're all business types books. This is a business book, but it's in novel format. In fact, it's a financial novella. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to read to you the summary off of the back cover of the book. It says, former NFL great Ted Hardy took an early retirement at age 50 after selling his sporting goods chain for a cool $3 million net after tax. At the time, Ted's money manager made a simple promise. If you stick to your withdrawal plan and get reasonable average annual returns, you'll never run out of money and you'll die with millions. 19 years later, Ted's stepson and financial power of attorney Jack Wheeler is called into town to sort out Ted's finances after Ted suffers a major health crisis. Confident that Ted still has millions in his stock market portfolio, Jack makes plans to place him in the best long-term care facility in town. But after examining Ted's investment statements, he makes a shocking discovery. Over $5 million is missing from Ted's portfolio. As Jack investigates the disappearance of his stepfather's money, he learns financial truths that challenge conventional wisdom and reveal a gaping hole in his own retirement picture. So this is a great story. It's got a real plot. It's got real characters. It's a real page turner. It's got a cool M. Night Shyamalan twist ending at the end. I love his movies. I love those twist endings. So this one's got one of those things. I think that The Volatility Shield is one of my favorite books that I've written. I had such a good time writing it. I think that you're really, really going to enjoy it. It's not just timeless financial principles, but it's a great story, heartwarming ending. Don't be ashamed if you cry on the very last page. It's a very, very heartwarming story that teaches principles that are incredibly important to anybody who wants to retire, especially germane to people who are age 50 or younger. So that's the show for today. Again, if you want to purchase a copy of the Volatility Shield, I urge and I exhort you to do so today. I would love nothing more than to send this shooting up the Amazon charts and have it be a #1 bestseller. So go to Amazon.com, put The Volatility Shield, David McKnight, into the search engine, and I really appreciate you helping me drive this thing to #1. Again, if you want to subscribe to our podcast, please do so. That way you can get our podcast delivered by email to your inbox every time one comes out. Again, thank you for listening, and thank you for looking into the Volatility Shield. Be very grateful and honored if you bought a copy today, as today is the launch day. Any questions about me, of course, go to davidmcknight.com. You can send me a message. You can call. Happy to engage with you in any way that I can be helpful. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next week.